I was backsliding. Whenever I was in prison, my first bid, I did 18 to 20. I did 2.5 years. I think I did like 29 months off of 30. And like I wasn't playing with God. Like God genuinely led me to a position of surrender. He put me on fire for him. I just wanted to know Jesus, enjoy him, make him known. I really didn't understand my calling and the purpose he placed upon my life yet. I knew that he was going to use me as a leader. He's always, put me in leadership positions, even when I was a kid in football, in the streets. So I knew that even as God was using me in prison, kind of like unintentionally, to influence the church, to evangelize, just to minister to homeboys and people who are still in prison, who were like living a street lifestyle, to share the gospel with them. But I didn't really have vision from God yet. So I was still young in my faith, but I was zealous, I was sincere, I was genuine. So I was coming home with every intention, with every motive, to bang out for Jesus and to walk faithful and to be the man that God was calling me to be. And that was my utmost desire, my motive and my intention. But obviously that wasn't the case. And before I begin to explain the process, I just want you to understand, like, I think maybe people who get saved and they come from different backgrounds, and I'm not knocking nobody, man. Like everybody has their own walk, everyone has their own life experience, and especially, their experience and their walk with Christ. And I think sometimes we can miss the mark and we can be immature and maybe have too much of a strong measure of judgment when we look upon other people's lives and especially believers. And we just like judge them based upon where they're at or what they're going through rather than failing to understand like where they came from, what they're wrestling with, and why, and the backstory behind it. And I'm not using that to excuse to justify rebellion or backsliding at all. I take full ownership, but I say that just because I want you as the viewer and as a hearer to understand, my process of backsliding. So you can learn from it, you can glean from it, whether it can relate to you if you're going through that right now, if you've been there, or maybe you don't understand, you can't relate and maybe you see other believers in Christ going through the same thing. Maybe this will help you kind of get like an inside look into my life and see as I explain what I went through and why to help you be maybe a bit more understanding, compassionate, merciful, and just have general knowledge of the process of others in their life as well. So for me, I knew what was going on. You know what I mean? Like I knew whenever I was backsliding, like this wasn't like unwillful sin. Like, yo, this was blatant rebellion. Like I know that I'm tripping. I know I'm going the complete opposite direction from what God has called and commanded me to do. So I knew way better. So that's why I would wake up in the morning and I pray those prayers because I'm asking for like God to be gracious, to be merciful, to have mercy on me because I know I'm tripping. Um, and I wasn't there always. Whenever God redeemed me and he set me on fire, like yo, I was like walking upright by his grace and by his strength. I was super consistent on fire for him. So when I began to backslide and rebel, I knew I was tripping. And and I just asked God to be merciful. So I knew what was going on. But one thing, man, I love about God and I just look back at my life in those seasons of backsliding and rebellion, and I just see like how merciful,